My guests at this time are the feature and director for the upcoming documentary In The Coffin, The Fall and Rise of Vampiro. It is, of course, Vampiro and Michael Past. Michael, did I get your last name correct?
Yes, you did.
Wonderful. Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Well, thank you all so much for taking the time, Vampiro. I've been a big fan of your work for a while now. But before we get into all this, Vampiro, mentally, physically, how are you holding up right now?
Amazing. I've been in therapy for about a year and a half, really working on my mental health issues, the head traumas, the physical injuries, and it's been brutally difficult, but I'm advancing leaps and bounds. That guy in that movie, he doesn't exist anymore.
Man.
I'm 130 pounds lighter. I'm a different man. I'm grateful, and it's because of Michael that I've been able to get on this journey. So the movie is a great reminder to anybody who has physical disabilities or mental health issues or the world is against them. I'm living proof that if you really believe and you put your work in, you can overcome anything. So I'm doing amazing. Thank you for asking.
No problem, man. And Michael, yeah, talk to me about how you got teamed up here. I guess, should I call you Vampiro or Ian in this interview? Which would you prefer, Vampiro?
Just call me Dad.
Dad. Seems weird. All right. How do you feel about, how'd you get hooked up with Dad over here, Michael?
We used to be boyfriend and girlfriend in high school. He would leave me alone. And he was like, dude, okay, I'll do this if you stop texting me.
Okay.
So, isn't that how it went?
No, yeah, exactly.
Okay. No, Michael, talk to me about how this. Were you just like a huge pro wrestling fan?
No, I'm a big fan ever since I was like 4 or 5 years old and all that stuff like that. But I ended up moving to Mexico around 2001 or so or something like that. I lived in Mexico for about a year, and then I ended up working for Super Lucha's magazine. And I was doing all the North American sort of, interviews and all that sort of stuff. And being Canadian, I had always heard about the story of, the myth of Vampiro in Mexico. And I tracked him down and I started to, got to know him. And then we lost contact for about, the next 18 years or so. And then I bumped into him in the airport and he was telling me what he was up to. And he was like, I'm commuting right now from Thunder Bay to Mexico City every basically every weekend, and going to LA as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why in the hell are you doing this, man? For me, commuting on the subways is hard enough. And you're commuting from Thunder Bay to Mexico City. And he says, I'm doing it for my daughter. My daughter's back in Thunder Bay and I'm raising her, single dad and all that. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a story here. It was just one thing led to another. And then we started the film. Man. And that's how it did. It took us about 2 to 3 years, following his journey, getting the story.
That's a huge commitment. 2 to 3 years on any project, man. That's quite a commitment you put into this thing, Michael.
Well, no, I think that's pretty typical of documentaries. When you're on the journey, you don't know where it's going to end, and you're following the person around, and there's no set schedule. As Raven Banner is our company, we do a lot of horror films and genre films and all that. But when you're on production, you have 4 weeks to shoot your film in this, and that's how it is. And for docs, it's an adventure. You go on this journey, and for me, it was awesome because I went on the journey as well with Ian.
Wow.
When I first met, it was hard. It was hard to. He wanted to do it, but he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that was that sort of that push and pull back and forth.
Yeah.
That we had.
Yeah, and Ian, talk to me about this journey, man. Like from where you started and where the documentary finishes. What kind of story is told here with your life over these 2-3 years?
I mean, it was like Michael just said. It was push and pull. I was right at the height. I've been sick for years, over a decade, and I had just been diagnosed. So I was at the height of my mental health issues. So I wasn't able to understand where I was in the present moment. Like Michael says, 2-3 years, almost 4 filming. To me, it was like a month. I can't distinguish time. I'm still struggling with that.
Man.
So I don't know. So I told Michael 3 things. I said, I've had a 40-year career, so if you've got to come with me and see it. We can't sit down and talk about it. So we spaced it out because there were specific events. There was a TV series. There was Mexico. There was this. So that's why it wasn't consecutive, because we wanted to capture the essence in different countries and really tell a story, not just hearsay or he said, she said. No, come and see it.
Yeah.
That was one thing. So, and the nerves was because I was so sick. And I didn't, so I told Michael, please don't ask me, you do it. Because if you ask me, I'm going to confuse you by giving you different opinions every 2 minutes, because I don't know what's going on. And I'm so protective of what I don't know. And, I was basically dying. I was 340 pounds and I was dying. So Michael was a big motivator and making me realize I needed to save my life, because if you watch the movie, that guy should be dead by now.
Yeah.
And it was because of this movie that he's not. So
yeah.
it was tough.
And talk real quickly here, what exactly were you dealing with, Ian? Like, I get kind of an idea here, but do you mind, letting us all know exactly kind of what?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with the beginnings of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. I've got PTSD from all the concussions, and I've got 86% of my body has chronic arthritis. Some things are incurable, but I'm doing alternative medicine. I'm doing a lot of meditation, a lot of spirituality. I'm a complete vegan. My doctor is into, he's from China. His medicine is very ancient. The massage techniques, the acupuncture, it's just a whole other trip. And I've lost over 100 pounds. I've got my brain back. It's coming, and I'm completely drug free, and like no pharmaceuticals for the pain. I'm just a different man. So it's such a blessing to even be doing this interview, to still be alive. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I hear it in your voice, and I've had the privilege of interviewing Jake Roberts a couple times in the past few years, and you sound like you have that same clarity. It's so wonderful to hear that spark in your voice and see it in your eyes too, And for Michael, like with you, what is it like for you to watch this journey play out? Was there ever any moments where you questioned, what you were doing covering this and felt like intervening, or what was the experience like for you watching all this play out?
No, it's a great question, right? Because when you're making a documentary, you're flying the wall,
yeah,
and you try not to intervene, and you just kind of have to let things kind of let the chips fall where they be, right?
Yeah.
I think the one thing though is that Ian, was hiding a lot. There's a lot of times where I couldn't get him out to come out to things, and I knew there was stuff going on, It was, there was fighting in times like that. There were some intense moments that were, trying to get him out. I remember a couple of times. I remember we were down in Mexico at Christmas time, and he wouldn't come out, right? He wouldn't come out at all and to meet up, and I knew something was wrong then, and then even when we were back in Thunder Bay with his daughter Dasha. One of my favorite parts in the film is when they're in the restaurant having, they're talking. And that day was an especially difficult day because he wouldn't leave the house. And I was talking to Dasha. I'm like, we got to do this stuff, right? And you're supposed to be, having lunch and all this. And she says, he's not coming out. He's not feeling well. I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? And I start calling him. I said, I don't care, man. Just, you got to get out here, right? I was like, we got to film this. And he came out, and that's when when I saw him, like with the legs and him limping. And that was the first time for me, it was because he'd been hiding it. And then I saw that, and I was like, holy crap.
Wow. And
then he sat down, and they had that lunch, and they were there. And then I knew that this was a moment, right, for Dasha, because she wanted to ask him the questions. And I said to her, you can ask him anything you want, and, confront him about some things and all that. And I said, he's not going to get away, I was because he can't leave the booth at that moment.
Yeah.
So in some ways, like, we were like, go, yeah, do that, ask him. And we tucked away in the corner, and we just filmed it. We filmed about 2 hours of their lunch. And they just forgot about us, and they just started, talking and doing their thing. And so it was a really special moment. But then when he got up and when he left the place, it really hit me. It was like, wow, this is pretty serious stuff.
Man. Well, definitely something that popped out in the press release for me is the line here about how Vampiro, or Ian, Dad, I guess. I still feel rude to call you that. But You know, you talk about it says here that you described your run in the 90s as nearly leading to your death. For fans that may not know, what was the locker room vibe there for you in the late 90s in WCW? How harmful was that to you and your health?
It was bad, because that's when I was starting with my situation. My main injury came during WCW, but I was already injured before that.
Yeah.
But I'm educated different. I grew up in wrestling different, but I'm also very religious. I'm very sensitive. I have nothing to do with my image, the way I look physically.
Yeah.
I'm easily affected by people who are bullies and people who suffer. So WCW was a locker room of just a bunch of desperate men who were on the verge of suicide. And, you know, there was like, I don't know, 50 or 60 of them that did commit suicide or drug overdoses. The political situation behind the scenes, the manipulation, the lying, the cheating. And you have a group of guys who are overly insecure, full of prescription drugs. I don't mean 1 or 2 pain pills. I mean 70, 80 pain pills an hour, every day. Major doses of anabolic steroids, plus all the injuries and then the mental health stuff. And then who's doing this, who's getting paid that, this guy said this. It was almost as somebody did it on purpose that we would all kill ourselves. And it was an experiment. It was horrid. It was just, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Man.
And you're a product of your environment. So you have to live with these guys. And some guys have different versions of it. And yeah, I made good friends and I loved my experience with the fans. But hey, I don't give a shit what those guys say. I was there. And after 39 years in the business, I have every right to tell you, because I started before wrestling had television. Now I'm producing TV shows. So I know what I'm talking about. So a lot of the ass kissers, oh no, it was great. And they're still trying to hang on and get that one last indie booking. I can say a bunch of names, but fuck those guys.
Yeah.
The reality of the situation is, they were as much a part of the problem as the guilty ones were, because they didn't speak up. They didn't have the fucking balls to stand up. They just want that paycheck. It's like prostitution is what it's like, man. And it's kind of like, I didn't spend my life being an athlete at a high level. Hockey, football, basketball, pro wrestling. I was a Vampiro for 12 years in Japan, Europe, Mexico, before I even mentioned WCW. Fuck WCW. I didn't need WCW. But it was the natural progression in my career is to, you know, I've been in all these places. I've got to go there and dominate. And they said, You're never going to get a shot. And I fucking schooled it. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So yeah, it almost killed me. It really did.
I have to ask, like in that situation, you know, how engaged was Bischoff? Was he trying to rein any of this in? Like you describe a pretty, you know, bleak image there. I just don't know how management was dealing with a lot of the issues.
I mean, you can't, it's like, poor Eric Bischoff, man. A lot of people don't like Eric Bischoff, but I do.
Yeah.
Because look, he's a man. He's a human being. What are you supposed to do when you got 80 guys and every one of them is the greatest thing that's ever happened to pro wrestling? If it wasn't for those guys, there'd be no industry.
Sure.
Up his ass 24/7. Sleep with my wife. Take these drugs. Here's half my money. Put me on TV. What the fuck are you supposed to do? And that's what it was like.
Man.
So, I mean, hey, it ain't ballet, and we're not innocent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't this unicorn going in there. I mean, I was a fucking guy from the street, and I would rob you before you can blink your eyes. I mean, that's how I grew up. And I was looking at these guys in the dressing room, I'm like, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Eric, like, management was hands-on, but that's the good old boys club. And they didn't like Eric Bischoff because he was an outsider.
Yeah.
So there was never harmony. It was just a constant battle. So you walk into that and you're like, what the fuck am I doing here? It was really, for me, it was very hard. Very hard.
And I know you came out of that in a rough spot. I mean, a lot of people would have loved to have seen you part of that WWE invasion of WCW and all that. Like, was that were you never, because of everything you were dealing with at the time, was it just never an option, or was it something you wanted to do, or no?
I don't really remember.
Yeah.
Everybody has their version, but I'll say it like this. If WWE wanted Vampiro, Vampiro would be there. There's a reason I'm not there. Everybody might say you missed your opportunity or they didn't get. No, it's not true. I had an amazing career. Every single place I went, I was in the main event. I had great storylines. I had great interactions with the fans for the last 39 years. This is my 39th year. I have nothing bad to say. If I was that good and that important, WWE would have signed me on the spot. It's that simple. So it wasn't meant to be. And I was going through a divorce. I was injured, and I didn't know what was going on. My daughter was just born, and I had an offer to go to Japan, and I was trying to save my marriage. The last thing on my mind was the WWE. And again, if they wanted me, of course I'd be there. But I didn't make the cut. It's that plain and simple. It just wasn't my time. They didn't need me. That's that. Okay. No big deal.
Well, I want to ask you, Michael, here, you know, obviously, talk to me a little bit about the release of Nail in the Coffin here, because you guys are doing it in theaters and online and all this. How difficult is it to try to get this into theaters right now while you're dealing with the pandemic at the same time?
Well, I think it's just, it's difficult for everybody. That the way we release films nowadays has changed, and it's a challenge. It's not only for Nail in the Coffin, but as our company, Raven Banner, we've got like 5 or 6 movies that we have to release as well. So every film is different, and you try to figure out a unique way to release it. We spent almost a year traveling the film on the festival circuit in the States and in Europe and, you know, Canada and all that. And so, you know, now we're just trying, you know, again, in the States, you try to find some bookings, but you never know. You know, we were talking to Draft House Films, and I think something with Draft House is happening, but you know what it's like with what's happening in the States right now. It's like, you know, you get a book, but who's going to show up? You know, that's the whole sort of thing. So really, you just kind of have to push the film as best as possible.
Yeah. And
we have it on every single digital platform available in terms of transactional right now. It's going to be coming out, so we're good that way. And I think at the end of the day, you know, we're excited about releasing it, however it's going to be.
Yeah.
No, I'm pumped.
Right.
What's that, dude?
Epic's really doing a hell of a job too.
Yeah, no, they've been doing a great job. And so, yeah, we're just trying to figure out unique ways. We're working on something else right now, trying to figure out another angle. But yeah, it's again, try to get as many eyeballs on the film as possible and all that. And for me, it's at the end of the day, this, you know, I love wrestling. I grew up watching it. I'm a fan. But the big thing for me that was this.
Ian, why are you laughing at him? Why are you giggling at right now? When Michael's
teasing me.
Yeah,
I was just going to say
this is my brother, man. I can do that.
Okay, got it.
He's razzing me. So no, but at the end of the day, this is a movie about family, right? For me, it's about family. It's about a father and a daughter.
Did you hear what he just said? It's about family. How long did it take us to do this movie? And we were on the suit for a year. Do you see any Raven Banner T-shirts? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Dad, I guess I'll throw it to you then here. There's so much more. I feel like, you know, hopefully here when the movie's out or a little bit, we can come back down the road because there's so many other parts of your career I'm very interested by. But
ask, dude, I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, well, okay.
You're on a roll now, brother. You're on a roll. Ask, motherfucker.
Okay, fine. What you outside of all the rest stuff you did in wrestling, you've had a lot of backstage influence, right? You've also had a lot of in-ring influence. There's a couple projects from your career I kind of just wanted to get your thoughts on. I loved Wrestling Societyx. Do you think what do you think about it kind of being ahead of its time? And do you think like a relaunch of Wrestling Societyx would work these days? You're saying you're not allowed to talk about it?
Be patient, young grasshopper.
Whoa, wait, that is not the response I was looking. Is there something in the mix? Should I press harder? No? Okay. All right, fine. I will move on. What about...
It was definitely ahead of its time, yeah. And MTV dropped the ball on that one. But because of that, I believe that it was a huge influence on Lucha Underground. If anybody denies that, then you know, kick them in the nuts.
Because that's the thing is like, you know, you obviously, and so like, what was it like for you working in as like an executive role at Lucha Underground? Because it sounds like that's about the time where you say that you weren't like doing so well. How was it for you dealing with the pressures of being an executive at Lucha Underground at that time?
Oh, no.
No?
I loved it. I mean, yeah. I loved it. I told this to Michael. I'm not sure if it comes out in the movie, but, you know, my time as a producer, agent, director, that role, was the most favorite of my career ever.
Yeah.
Because I have so much passion to create. And when you give young people support and you believe in them and you see it in their eyes and they're about to make it and they're at the best that they're going to be at the level they're at, and you just see that they're willing to put it on the line. How could you not put it on the line for them? That it's like Michael Knowsley, it's like making a movie. It's like, fuck, you just believe it so much. I absolutely relished those experiences. It was, out of everything I've done in my career, being in that role was the greatest experience I've ever had. And I'm so blessed to have had that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And like so many talents came out of that, which we get to in a second. But also it's interesting because I feel like the influence of Lucha Underground is like spread into other aspects of pro wrestling right now. Like I watched that Rey Mysterio Seth Rollins eye for an eye match, and I was like, if this was in Lucha Underground, I think people would buy into it. You know what I mean? I just think it's in like the wrong place, right time. I don't know if that resonates with you when I say something.
Did you see the match about 6 months ago where the guy copied, I don't know who they were, they did it move for move, the match of Vampiro and Pentagon, even the finish, even the verbiage. I was like, what the fuck? That's why I don't like answering these questions, because it's like, there's nothing new. We've seen it all.
Yeah.
It's, even if you make a movie, it's always good versus evil. How you get there, that's up to you. But I mean, copying the moves, copying the verbiage, copying the fucking finish. It's like, with that $1 billion budget you got, you can't even tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm a fan like you, like Michael. So no matter what I say, especially in my position, if I speak bad about it, oh, he doesn't know, he's jealous. If I speak good about it, oh, he's kissing their ass. That's why I just say, man, fuck y'all. And I enjoyed what I did.
Yeah, and what was it like for you having to watch these kids get tied up in these contracts so after the fact? I mean, it's like, I would imagine it's like, I love this thing, but I also feel for these people. How did you feel watching these guys try to negotiate or navigate those legal waters with the show?
I don't have any friends. Now you just fucked it up for me even worse. So thanks for that question.
Just ask. You told me to keep going. You said I was on a roll.
I think this: you beg, you sacrifice, and you kiss ass, and you tell them, I will die for an opportunity. You get that opportunity, you get a job, and then you complain. It's like, you knew what you were doing. You're in a major corporate. You go to the NHL. What, you're not going to sign a contract? You're going to continue to play street hockey? It's like, you're in the big leagues. This is what you worked for. This is what you wanted. You're making a living. You're traveling the world. You're becoming somebody. You have an opportunity. If you don't run with the ball and score touchdowns when you're in the big league, that's on you. It doesn't matter. So stop fucking complaining. Go back to sleeping in your car with 6 guys and drinking a carton of chocolate milk and sharing an egg salad sandwich between the 3 of you, fighting for gas money to drive 800 miles to have a 3-minute match. Or shut the fuck up and get on the plane and go to TV. Stop complaining and crying, because there's 1 million guys in line that will take your place like that. So be careful.
I also wanted to ask you, we kind of talked about the occult earlier in the pre-interview interview. Not necessarily the occult, but you fell in like many did with the Insane Clown Posse over the years. Do you want to talk about like what it's like to work for the Insane Clown Posse, and what do you think of these guys? I don't know what your relationship is like.
I didn't work for anybody. We did things together.
Okay, and, you worked with the Insane Clown Posse, not for the Insane Clown Posse, I should guess. I don't know. I
mean, to me, their spirit is a lot of what Michael believes in, a lot of what I believe in, a lot of what this movie's about. It's just 2 guys who were rebellious and did not give up on their dream and got to the top of the mountain step by step. So the thing that I loved about ICP is, to me, it reminded me of the Sex Pistols, just the initial punk rock movement, just 2 guys who set society upside down. That's why I love ICP, because of that and the loyalty of their fan base. To me, that's untouchable. That right there is what I related to, because in wrestling, Vampiro, and Michael, I'd say it all the time, and like Michael hears these words, I hear these words, you're iconic, you did this, you're a legend. What the fuck are you talking about? I was in the right place at the right time, and I didn't back down, and I followed my dream. That's why people believe in Vampiro, the fighting spirit. I'm not a talented wrestler, not at all. I just fought that fight, and that's why Michael and I connected. He grew up liking rebellious music just like I did, and we have that in common, so we get each other. We can finish each other's sentences. So when you connect with somebody like that, that's what we connect with the fans. That's the magic, my friend. It's nothing else. It's that, and that's it.
Man, all right. Well, that's all the nerd questions I had at the end. This was like, if I had time, I was going to get to it. So I appreciate you taking like my grab bag of random.
That fucking whole anticlimactic ending that you're just giving right now. I'm all emotional. I'm cutting promos. I'm animated. It's in fucking 3D. I'm in outer space, and you come back with that.
What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? I don't know.
You did great.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Dad. All right, Michael. Is there anything? I'm gonna let Ian close it out here just a second with the hard plug. Was there anything else you want to throw?
Hey, no to drugs. What? Huh?
You got a second here before the hard out. Ian, Michael, is there anything you want to say before we throw to Dad to take us home here today?
No, I think that I was just gonna say that, you know, for me, this was just as much as a journey making the movie as it was for Ian. We both went through this together. We both came out on the other side. And I think we came out stronger for it. I think that's the cool thing. And then at the end of the day, we all have, like I said, we all have families. I have daughters. He has a daughter. And, you know, with lockdown and all the stuff that's going on, you know, we all turn to the one thing that we have closest to us. It's our family, right? And that was the big thing for me, you know, with Vampiro and filming this doc was I wanted to show the other side. I wanted to show him that he was real. And I was like, he's got a daughter, and he has this whole, you know, like Matt Stryker said in the doc, and Matt sums it up really quite eloquently, you know, about him being a dad and all that, and I think that's just important. It's important to see that side of it. You know, you got all the internet trolls and all that stuff, and I think that we tend to get kind of bogged down seeing all that sort of stuff, and I think it's important to see, you know, another side of someone. So I hope you guys check it out.
I love it. And yeah, Ian, take us, Dad, I guess I should say, take us home. Like, any last words here to get people to watch the documentary?
Yeah, I have a free link, and I'm going to give it away for free right after this video on Facebook. I'm grateful to Michael for taking a chance. I'm grateful to DeAngelis Films. I'm grateful to Raven Banner. I'm grateful to Epic. I'm grateful to people like yourself who take the time to want to interview me. Look, I have everything I have because of the fans and the emotion of pro wrestling. I need the fans to know that there are guys like me who understand that without you, we would never, we wouldn't exist. So I'm hoping if you get a chance to see this movie, that the guy that you invested in emotionally all these years, which will be myself, is a real person. And I wasn't a gimmick or an image. I did fight for the underdog because I am the underdog. And I want you to see the way I'm moving, the way I'm speaking, that you can overcome anything. And Michael does a great job of sharing that with you. So if you want to know that you're appreciated, watch the movie and understand that I did all of that because I meant it.
I was not expecting Vampiro in space. This is incredible.
What else would you expect me to be?
I don't know. Not outer space, but here we are.
A spiritual being who's engulfed by the light and the love of the source. I'm ascending to another dimension, my friend. So space is where it's at.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll get to that here in the interview. I'm very interested by what you just said. That's for sure.
I can tell by the size of your eyes. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm into the. I know you're into the occult. I'm into the occult. I have. This is my human skull cap that I keep on my desk to remind me what the insides of me look like every day.
That is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Really?
That is so badass. Oh my god.
You have a bowl of soup out of that thing.
Here. Well, I've contemplated taking shots out of it, but I think that the devil might come and take my soul. So here, I'll show you real quick, Vampiro, to impress you. And I'm recording this already, so I'm glad I'm getting your reaction. So you're into the occult, right? I've read about this. So this is a non-bleached skull cap. So usually in the medical community, before they give the bones out and stuff, they'll bleach the skulls. So this one is not bleached. It's like just out of the body. And right here on the top of it, is some piece of newspaper that's stuck to it, and it's flat. It can't peel it off. It doesn't come off, and I have no idea what that is. And it is just like the creepiest part of this whole thing. So there you go.
I think it's even creepier that used to be somebody's head and you don't care about that.
Oh, I do care about that. I'm just very in tune, like you say. You've like ascended. It's like, this is my vessel here. It's somebody else's vessel, right? It reminds me. I have no idea. It would have just sat in the shop if I hadn't picked it up. So
Fucked up, kid.
come on, that's not that messed up.
I'm kidding. The way you can tell that it's human is you can tell where the bones are joined on the sides like that. It's just like the continental drift, you know, before when the earth was just all one piece.
Yeah.
That's how bones in the human skull used to go. That's how you can tell that's a human skull, by the way it's connected like that.
Yeah, here, for those here, I guess we'll maybe include this here in the interview now. But yes, what he's talking about is that's what the inside of your skull looks like, for everybody who's wondering right there. So cool. What a great start, Vampiro. This has really set the tone.